third session of the series on the Frontline series. This is a series that began in 2020 during just after the beginning of the COVID crisis. And this has brought together a lot of practitioners around the world, which is because of the networks, the two networks that organize this. This is the Resilient Cities Network and the World Bank Group. So this is a wide network of practitioners and a whole group of people who are actually very interested in the kind of work on a day-to-day basis of what goes on in cities. And so on this series, in today's session, let me give you a few of the ground rules that we would, as in other webinars, we request all of you to keep your mics muted and your videos shut. And you're welcome to pose questions in the chat box. That's what we would really want you to do, ask you to do, and urge you to do, because we would like you to participate. And we will pick up these questions and we will pose them to the speakers. And with that, let me hand you over to Lauren, who will be taking us through the introductions. So Lauren, all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barger. It's a pleasure to be co-hosting with you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lauren Sorkin, the Executive Director of the Resilient Cities Network. And tonight's session, we're going to be talking about the transition to sustainable energy. So as all of you know, while there have been tremendous advances in cleaner, more sustainable energy and its delivery systems, a lot of people in urban and peri-urban areas still lack safe, reliable, and affordable power. Cities don't always have enough information or the right kinds of incentives that are necessary to help transition various sectors like energy and move to a more sustainable and resilient approach and alleviate energy poverty. Tonight, we're going to be discussing these challenges and really talking with two cities, Semarang and Cape Town, who are in the midst of making this transition in real time. And they're going to be sharing with us some of their early successes and also what are some of the remaining challenges and what they think is necessary to speed up the transition and build systems that can really withstand shocks and stresses. We're also going to hear the perspective from the private sector and how partners like our newest private sector partners are responding to cities' demands and offering tools that help cities transition into more resilient practice as they plan their investments with a lot of care. So I'm going to introduce you to our speakers. We will have one coming to us by video and 3 in real time tonight. The first that we'll hear from is Andrew Stewart, who is the Executive President of Strategy and Business Development from Wood. And Andrew is formerly the CEO of Asset Solutions Americas and CEO of Wood's Group on Asset Lifecycle Solutions and business in the Western region of Australia. And he's been in that role since 2017. So he'll come to us because of the late hour in Australia by video. We'll have with us here tonight Peter Hall, who is the Global Director for Sustainable and Resilient Infrastructure at Wood. He leads sustainable resilient infrastructure business, including the management of the Wood Resilience Lens, which is an investment screen framework, and I'm sure he'll tell us more about that. He is also an ambassador for climate resilience at the Stimson Center. Then we'll hear from Leila Mahomed-Weideman, and Leila is currently the Director for Sustainable Energy Markets in Energy and Climate Change Directorate at the Metropolitan Municipality of the City of Cape Town in South Africa. And this is a new department that was set up in 2017 that facilitates energy security, diversification, and innovation. And before that, she was Managing Director at Sustainable Energy Africa, a leading energy NGO in South Africa that focuses on energy, poverty, and sustainability nexus. And last but certainly not least, from our neighboring Indonesia, we have Muhammad Luthfi, and he will be speaking to us from Semarang, where he is the Chief Resilience Officer. He is also the leader of the Infrastructure and Environment Research and Development work of the Semarang Department and Planning Agency. So with that, I'm going to turn the microphone and the floor over to our facilitator tool show us the video of Andrew. Thank you. Fantastic. I hope everyone was able to hear and see the video. I'm now going to turn the floor over to Peter Hall, who leads our partnership at Wood and who's going to be able to share with us about Wood's journey and the tools that they've developed to help with the energy transition and building sustainable and resilient infrastructure. Peter, over to you. I think we're still on mute. There we go.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Oops, trying to get off. Can you hear me now? Am I coming through all right now?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, and can you see the screen okay? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so just want to add to what Andrew was saying, and really thrilled to establish this partnership with Resilient Cities Network. It really builds on work that we've had before in the past with the network. And I just wanted to add a few things to what Andrew was just talking about. And basically, our partnership, what we're looking for, our vision, which it's all about helping cities and the network, advance the city strategies you have in place now, with really a focus on infrastructure, energy transition, and some of the tools that we've been working on that we're hoping can help cities, build on their plans, achieve their goals, access funding, and accelerate some of the critical assets that you're working on now for resilience. So just to build on what Andrew was saying, what we really like to bring to cities, in addition to everything we do at Wood, which all that is really what we want to bring, but helping cities with energy transition roadmaps. A lot of the cities in the network have net zero plans, so we'd really like to work with cities to help those roadmaps so they can build energy transition projects that can really benefit communities, helping cities implement their strategies using a delivery framework. Work to help bridge the gap with financing. So how can we help cities access financing, better spend the funding they do have for projects, and then also help with some of the implementation programs around that. So really what we're trying to get to and really want to help cities with is building back better, delivering critical services for communities, and taking some of this work and helping to scale that up to other cities. So I wanted to quickly just highlight, to build on what Andrew was saying, we actually have a roadmap that we're using now with clients that we think could really help a lot of cities. It's really developing a roadmap for how cities can progress towards net zero. Everything from what do you need to focus on, what are the projects you can bring to your cities to help this transition, and then deliver those. And really importantly, building on even just the events in Houston recently, making sure those projects deliver reliable energy to communities. And so we're doing a lot of work in solar. Just an example, we're doing work all over the world in solar, but not just building the solar plants in the projects, but delivering those to end markets. So we're, for a lot of the cities in the network, you may have offshore wind or wind projects. So what we really want to do is help cities take energy, deliver it, and get it to communities where it's needed. We also have a process now helping to integrate resilience into your projects. So looking at projects all the way from stakeholder engagement, protecting assets, delivering, transforming. This is a framework we'd love to bring to cities to help implement your strategies. And just as, Andrew mentioned rivers, example of one of the projects we've used for this, using this to take a river and turn it into a community asset that can benefit communities. These are the kind of projects we'd love to bring to cities. And he also mentioned rail, so we're doing a lot of work now on integrated mobility, transit-oriented communities. These are the kind of projects we would like to bring to cities through our frameworks to help implement your projects. And Lauren mentioned at the outset our resilience screen, which we're about to roll out. We'd like to bring this to cities too to help leverage energy, infrastructure, and access financing. It's in the Resilient Cities Toolkit to help drive better outcomes for cities. And really, it's all about, we'd like to help cities with energy transition, reliability, and sustainable infrastructure. And that's it for now. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Peter. We're going to continue now with presentations from our cities. And as we transition to Leila's presentation, I want to remind everyone that as the presentations are going on, as you have questions that you want to ask, you can pop them into the chat function, and we'll come back to those when the presenters are finished. So I believe that Leila's bandwidth in Cape Town is a little bit low at the moment, so we may not be able to see her on video, but you can see her slides here, and hopefully we'll be able to hear you loud and clear. So Leila, I'm turning the microphone over to you.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me, Lauren?
Yes, you're coming through very well.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share Cape Town's efforts and challenges in our journey to transition to a more sustainable energy future. It's quite a dense presentation. I did have difficulty in choosing what to present because we are involved in so many programs and activities towards this end goal. Just to locate yourself, we are at the bottom tip of Africa. We are the quintessential tale of two cities, a very modern city with a huge tourism sector, but also significant and growing informality. Unfortunately, a high Gini coefficient, and our employment rate is about 25%. So many developmental challenges there. This is our City of Cape Town supply area. You will see that we currently purchase 99% of our electricity from Eskom, our national utility, for onward sale to our consumers in the city's grid. Eskom supplies the remainder, so that gray area in that diagram. So it's 25% of the metro's electricity is supplied directly by Eskom. Our average consumption for our residents is about 600 kilowatt hours per month, and it does range from the first quintile from about 200 to the uppermost quintile at about 1,000 kilowatt hours. And over the past decade, due to our energy efficiency interventions, as well as the economic downturn, and more recently the increase of rooftop PV on the higher income households, we've seen a decrease, overall decrease in electricity demand amongst our residents. So why this urgency to move towards a sustainable energy path? Well, our national utility, Eskom, which is vertically integrated and a protected monopoly, is the primary provider, as I said, of electricity in South Africa. Its fuel source is primarily dirty coal burnt up in the north of the country. You'll see a blue dot there. And South Africans have been experiencing increasing blackouts or load shedding in recent years as the aged power stations fail to meet what's called the electricity availability factor. In addition to that, Eskom produces about 42% of South Africa's greenhouse gas emissions. So the reliability issue, as we've seen in some of these recent newspaper articles, as well as the carbon footprint of Eskom, has pushed us to become more urgent around this transition to an energy secure and low carbon future for Cape Town. So this diagram provides an overview of some of our programs and activities that support our transition. The primary drivers is lowering costs through the purchase of bulk renewable electricity, increasing our resilience and energy security, promoting local economic development, job creation, and attracting investment, and then, as mentioned before, decreasing the city's carbon footprint. The 6 legs of these activities or programs is in this complicated diagram on the left. The purple box on the top and the bottom that flanks the circle, those are very key. So planning and research, modeling, developing scenarios, data management, data and evidence-led decisions is very important to us. So we do invest quite a time and effort into getting that right, and then working in collaboration with others, colleagues as well as other stakeholders is also important, and communicating the work that we do. And then I think I'll go through very quickly some of these activities. Number one is that rollout of IPPs and enhancing the opportunities for distributed energy resources. That's on the second block there on your right. Decreasing energy consumption and carbon intensity in our buildings and operations, or net zero carbon buildings, as was displayed in the video earlier on. So that's the 8 to 10. And then digitalizing our grid and promoting some disruptive technologies. And then finally, we also have become very conscious around providing alternatives and looking for options and interventions to deal with the energy poverty in our city. It is a complicated area, complex area, and we are constrained by local government regulations in what we can do, but it is an important area for us. I'll be touching briefly on some of the projects that we are or have embarked on. I just want to read for those that might not have had a chance, just read through the 1 to 16, so you get a big picture of what we're up to. So number 1 was the large-scale IPP program. Number 2, a smaller scale IPP procurement program. Number 3, development of our own generation assets that's between 1 and 10 megawatts. And then also development of our own generation assets that's less than 1 megawatt and that you'd find on the rooftop, or we've got a floating solar pilot that we also initiated. Number 5 is the wheeling facility, and I'll speak a little bit about that. Number 6, small-scale embedded generation or embedded generation, distributed generation. We call that SSEG. So supporting the uptake of that amongst our citizens and our commercial sector. And then number 7 there is finding an innovative financing option for middle-income households who would wish to implement rooftop solar. Number 8, energy efficiency in city buildings and facilities, and then moving towards net zero carbon buildings and precincts, hopefully by 2030 with our own buildings, and then 2050 with private buildings. And then building our citizens and other stakeholders awareness of this need to move and what they can do, empowering them so that they can be part of this movement. Number 11, demand management. Number 12, smart grid communication. Number 13, storage. 14, electric vehicles and electrification of the transport system. And number 15 is hydrogen or molecular fuels investigation. And number 16 is the options for unelectrifiable areas and citizens. We did do a gas study, and unfortunately, it's not economically viable yet for Cape Town, and that's why the move to also look at molecular fuels as an option, because we need to have a stable system with the hopefully bulk integration of renewables. So one of the key undertakings that support the work that we do is setting a carbon neutral 2050 goal. In terms of meeting this carbon neutral objective, the city has developed an ambitious climate change strategy as well as an action plan that supports our renewable energy objectives. Cape Town hopes to be carbon neutral by 2050. Just a little bit more about our large-scale procurement program. In 2018, after several attempts since 2015 to engage national government to provide us with an allocation under the IRP, or a determination as it's called, in terms of our Electricity Act, the city took the National Minister of Energy and the National Regulator to court. The IPP court case was heard in May last year, and it had intended to pave the way for us to purchase about 300 megawatts directly from independent power producers. And in that way also open up the doors for other municipalities to do so. About 3 days before the court case, the ministry released some draft regulations. Those regulations indicated that municipalities would be enabled to purchase directly from IPPs. Those regulations came into effect on the 16th of October. So we do believe that the court challenge pushed national government to create the opportunity for local government to participate in a new energy future. The requirements, however, linked to this new regulation and to undertake a renewable energy independent power producer program at the local level is quite onerous. It's challenging and it's complex, and in addition, national government has not yet developed the detailed procedures that we would need to follow and adhere to when applying for determination or implementing such a project. But it's important to note that if we're going to meet our diversification goals, our carbon neutral goals, our renewable energy targets that we've set, we would need to purchase large amounts of renewable energy from outside our city boundaries and directly from the producers. This is a proposed timeline. If we get a determination or an allocation from the minister, it could take up to 5 years before we have first power, renewable energy first power. So aside from the complexity and the lack of clarity from national government on the process, our biggest challenges is linked to funding hurdles, as well as the impact that COVID has had on the need to prioritize other basic services and developmental objectives in the city. So that was the large-scale IPP program, from which we hope to secure about 300 megawatts by 2025. And now this is a slide on our small-scale program, from which we hope to secure an additional 100 megawatts, made up of several 10-megawatt renewable energy plants connected into our grid around the city. So we've developed a tender, which we hope to advertise soon. We're just finalizing the power purchase agreement, which will go with the tender, and that power purchase agreement will be for 20 years, so it's under legal review at the moment. We've done a pre-feasibility study where we divided the city up into regions based on grid capacity, and this will form part of that tender specifications. So the city is hoping to develop, build, own, and operate several solar PV systems between 5 and 10 megawatts within our municipal boundaries by 2030. We hope to have about 50 megawatt peak installations in total, but it does depend on funding, and the timelines might need to shift to accommodate, as I said, the impacts that COVID has brought. So to date, we've conducted a land audit and an initial grid connection assessment, which confirms that if we use city land, we can have about 50 to 70 megawatts on city land. But also to note that 50 megawatts of solar will provide only 1% of the energy purchased from Eskom on an annual basis. We need about 30 to 50 megawatts to make our own buildings net zero carbon. So this is an important step for us if we were able to proceed to build and own our own generation capacity. We have started developing one site. It's just outside of Cape Town, next to a green SEZ, and we are busy with the geotech work and the EIA. This is the site there, and it's about 10 to 20 hectares of land, and we hope to develop between 7 and 10 megawatts of PV power. And it's going well enough in terms of the development cycle and the assessments, but it is still a while away before we can build this out. And also to note, the city is assessing 4 waste to energy generation sites, and this forms part of the CDM program. So the city also has an active rooftop solar program where it installs PV rooftop systems on city-owned buildings. The biggest system is on our electricity head office. It's a 260 kilo peak system. We are constrained by legislation to have the systems less than 1 megawatt. So that's our largest installation that you see there on the carport and the rooftop of our building. Other examples is a 60 kilowatt peak system on a municipal building and in Kales River, and then another admin building close to the sea in Milnerton, and then a traffic department building near the center of town. As I mentioned earlier, we also have, we're the first city actually to develop a municipal wheeling framework at the city in South Africa, which will allow a willing buyer and seller to use our network to purchase renewable energy and then green its operations. The tariff's been approved by a regulator but not yet implemented. Implementation has unfortunately been delayed due to the integration issues with our SAP billing system and the cost of a consultant to work on the module that will assist with that implementation. And another first for Cape Town, we are the leader in small-scale or distributed energy generation uptake in South Africa. We were the first municipality to develop these SSEG guidelines, which have now been rolled out to other municipalities around the country. We have bidirectional metering, which allows consumers to import and export electricity. We have automated billing, which allows for the purchase and sale of electricity. And then we also created tariffs that credit consumers for excess generation. We are on an ongoing basis providing easy-to-use information and guidance booklets videos to both installers and residents. There's a little booklet down on the bottom there. We're also developing an online registration process to help consumers easily register their systems. And then we're also exploring innovative financing options for our consumers to be able to participate in a rooftop solar program. And then we've also been working on our municipal buildings. The city consumes about 4% of all electricity, so it's important for us to lead by example. Between 2009 and 2020, the initiative saved, as it says, 231 gigawatt hours of electricity with a saving of 300 million rand and a lot of avoided emissions. Some key achievements there is 60 buildings have been retrofitted with energy efficient technologies. We've installed 0.5 megawatt of rooftop solar. We've retrofitted all our traffic lights with energy efficient technologies and 34% of our street lights. And then we've installed advanced metering in 847 of our buildings, and as well as training 155 staff, facility owners mainly, who manage the buildings for the city in what's called a smart facility application, which is a real-time data system to alert these building managers of whether there's spikes in consumption, what they are consuming, what they're saving, and what the PV system is generating. And it's been amazing to see how if building owners understand their buildings better, how they can manage it better and saving energy and carbon in the process. We have a number of initiatives to reach out to our residents. There's only 2 noted here. But we would like to bring them along in building and imagining what the energy future of the city could look like. So one of them is the Cape Town Future Energy Festival that we ran. We had to move it digitally last year, June to now, because of, again, COVID. And the festival aimed to spark conversation on climate change, energy efficiency, and renewable energy, amongst others. We had a energy efficiency cooking competition called What's in the Pot, a green Maker Mania platform for innovative technologies, a net zero carbon called My Clean Green Home competition for students and professionals, and now that's been built and on display as a net zero carbon pop-up building. We also have a series of videos for kids 4 to 8 called Smart City Kids that talks to a sustainable energy and resource efficient future. And then we also have interesting videos of conversations that we've had with thought leaders and innovators and those that are through real action creating our future. On the right-hand side there, you see we've also produced and distributed handbooks from the Smart Living Handbook to Smart Cooking and Home Safety Guides and Office Handbooks and other resource efficiency and development guidelines for the building sector. We also run a energy waste and water forum which promotes resource efficiency in the commercial buildings and operations sector. Very recently, we've been focusing on the disruptive technologies in the sector and how the commercial sector can take advantage of this. This busy slide talks to a request for proposals, request for information that we put out in 2019 to solicit ideas. Yes.
My apologies. We are running a little bit short on time.
Okay. Almost done. I've got 2 more slides. Thank you.
If we can move along, yeah.
Okay, so the request for information led to a smart geyser project where we're installing 100 hotspots in a city-owned housing, which we will assess and then motivate, if it's saving enough electricity, motivate to roll out further. Another one was we managed to secure funding from UNIDO to install a PV-powered public EV charging station pilot, again to assess and there's for those, and we will then look at what the impact is on the grid and what we need to prepare for. Then the final slide is the low-income energy services interventions. These are some of the projects we've implemented to try and reduce the impacts of energy poverty. I'm not going to go through all the detail there, but there's a solar geyser project, ceiling retrofit, solar lighting kits, and we have focused a lot on research. Just in conclusion, this is our mission and purpose of the department, and I think it sums up our work towards our 2050 goal, as well as our directorate's commitment to 100% cares very well. So we're hoping for 100% clean, accessible, reliable, equitable, and safe energy for the future of the City of Cape Town. Thank you once again for your attention, and I'm sorry I might have gone over a few minutes.
Thank you, Leila. That was a truly sweeping presentation. I think really a master class in energy transition with a number of initiatives and different ways that you're engaging in procurement and community education and in many different kinds of sustainable energy. I'm going to turn the floor over to Luthfi, who's going to take us through Semarang's journey to date, and then we will have time for questions for all of our speakers. So again, I encourage you to pop those questions into the chat for that portion of the session. Mas Luthfi, over to you.
Yeah. Could you hear my voice, Lauren?
We can. If you can speak a little bit closer to the microphone, louder, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. This is my first time to speak in this series. So today I would like to share about our experience, our city experience to how to. Yeah, we already seen the Cape Town presentation that is really progressive compared to our city. But yeah, it's just like in the title is better late than never. So at least we already have several initiatives towards the more clean and the renewable energy in the future. Firstly, I would like to share about the profile of our city. Semarang is a part of the Java Island, and then is the capital of the Central Java Province, and we have more than 1.8 million inhabitants, and with 0.7% population growth during the last 5 years. And we also have the typical of the topographic situation. We have coastal, and then also the hilly area in the upstream or in the southern part of the city. And then, sorry. So I don't know what is the problem. And we also have basically we have as one of the big city in Indonesia, Semarang have a problem with the air quality. You can see in the picture that the red color illustrating that the air quality is bad. So So the darker color it means that worse than the green and yellow color. So this is in the Semarang CBD is in the red dark color. So the air quality is very bad, and then need intervention and need solution to deal with this problem. And then the national government have a commitment to in GHG emission reduction. The total from our own is 29% from the business as usual scenario, and then 41% with support from the international stakeholder from the business as usual GHG scenario. And how about the situation in Semarang? We have the total GHG emission for the 2020 is 6 million ton of carbon dioxide in that year. So the biggest emission that produced by cities coming from the energy. It consists of the transportation, industry, power plant, and also domestic use. It become biggest the polluted sector. So we already conducting the roadmap for the GHG emission reduction for the 2030. We propose some scenario that we will reduce the GHG emission by the 2030 is around 26.6% from the yearly business as usual. So in the year of 2030, we will reduce the emission, but we still under the national target. But at least the city of Semarang already have an initiative to reduce our own GHG emission. It's not all of the city or the local government in this country is not yet state the scenario, and they still don't have any roadmap or master plan related to the GHG emission reduction. And then this is some of our initiative. Firstly, regarding to the data that the transportation has become one of the biggest contributor for the GHG emission. We already now have 11 corridors for the mass transportation. Is like BRT, the bus rapid transit, called as Trans Semarang, since 2009. And then our government proudly announced that the Trans Semarang is the second biggest mass transportation after Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia. So Jakarta is already have 100 corridors, and then Semarang already have 11 corridors, and then it become 12 in 2021. Then we already have the major decree on green building that become the regulation for the use of energy in the building, in the domestic and also the commercial use. And we also have the initiative for building a solar PV power plant. It is nearby our dam. The capacity is 300 kilowatt. And last year we have a project to cover some part of the our city hall by using the rooftop solar PV. Capacity is 75 kilowatt, and and then the last is still small initiative, but is we can replicate from this. We have a mini wind power plant. The capacity is just 4 kilowatt because the wind potential in Semarang is very low. So we try to modify the the wind power plant so the power plant can catch the low wind in the city under 3 until 4 meter per 3 until 4 meter per second wind can create electricity. And then even in the global is still become the debate and is still debatable. We already have the first is waste to energy using the landfill gas. We already done with this, and then in the next 2 or 3 years we will have waste to energy power plant that have a capacity 15 until 20 megawatt. And from our study, we also have the other potential of the renewable energy. So it's still there. So we still looking for how to realizing how to utilizing the energy from the waste, the wind, and then micro or mini hydro, and then solar PV, and also utilizing the biomass. And we also the mayor has a strong commitment to always increasing and provide more open green space. From our calculation, our urban green space can reduce at least 20,000 tons of CO2 emission. Then we also try to educate the community, people in the city, that not only using the fossil fuel energy, and we try to propose them to use the other energy resources. For example, the natural gas. We have abundant natural gas, so we try to propose. Now we already have the 7,500 households that already using natural gas directly from the gas pipe. Then, yeah, why is it so hard? So this is our challenge. The first is always is the fossil fuel energy is still cheaper than renewable energy. So so it is always difficult to convince the political leader or the stakeholder that have the strategic position in the city to propose the renewable energy. Then we still have a problem with the less funding resources for the research and development regarding to the renewable energy, and also we still have a problem with the reliability of the renewable energy. Of course, we still depend on the fossil fuel. So the renewable renewable energy sounds looks like not reliable compared to the fossil fuel energy. Then technology gap. So we realized that we still need capacity, increase our capacity to learn about how the technology, how we can produce the electricity the from the nature. So so we still need this support from maybe our colleagues from university or from the other city outside our country. Then the next problem is the next challenge is there are no incentive and disincentive mechanism for every who will use the renewable energy is still don't get any incentive compared to the people of the community or the commercial that still using the fossil fuel energy. Then the next challenge is we have the electricity oversupply produced by the coal power plant. So it's related to the first challenge. So it makes the renewable energy more, the fossil fuel is more cheaper than renewable energy. And then the last is, this is more the principle of the authority of the energy is not belong to the local government. So the energy authority is under the national government. So we have difficulty or we have challenge to how to start the initiative with how to make the energy more efficient and also proposing a new technology for the renewable energy. Yeah, almost 15 minutes. So I think that is my presentation. I hope we will have a fruitful discussion. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Mas Luthfi. Barger is going to start us off with a couple of questions, which at this hour, I think we have time for some quick answers. And then we would also urge you that if you have additional questions, please do follow up with us via email.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I have one question for Peter and another one for Leila. But so Peter, since we have a lot of practitioners here from cities, when you mention energy transition roadmaps, what exactly, I mean, in a very condensed nutshell, what exactly is energy transition roadmap? What does it contain?
Yeah, it's literally working with the city to identify what energy sources do you focus on first, what's your highest priority, how do you connect energy to the distribution networks, get energy to people. It's really like a prioritized roadmap action plan. So it could lead to what they're doing in Cape Town.
Okay, thank you. Lauren, do you want to ask the second question or should I go ahead?
You can go ahead. We're running low on time. Go for it.
Okay. So Leila, I know, very impressive work, always. I mean, I'm always impressed whenever I listen to any presentation from Cape Town. But since, again, as I asked Peter, since we have a lot of practitioners, what kind of institutional structures do you have within Cape Town that you are able to manage such a wide-ranging program on energy transition? So how difficult has it been and how long has it taken you to establish this institutional structure within the municipal organization? Thanks.
Thank you very much for that question. We have a dedicated energy and climate change directorate, which there is some background noise there, under which my department falls, sustainable energy market. So the city made a conscious effort to establish capacity to put us on this renewable energy and sustainable energy roadmap. But the work around climate change started almost 20 years ago in the city of Cape Town. And, we've just built on that. We're now moving to more ambitious targets. We also have a political body, a portfolio committee that also focuses on climate change and renewable energy. And then we, through the climate change strategy and the action plan, we're working in collaboration with a number of other departments. So institutionally, don't think everything's settled, there are still challenges. But if you put warm bodies to do the work, and if you build the capacity of not only officials but politicians as well, it does assist in highlighting and broadening the work that is sometimes quite new to a city. And we also obviously then have support from institutions like the Resilient Cities, but also others around the world. That support has also brought the momentum for the work that we've been doing. Thank you, Bajo.
Thank you very much. Lauren?
Unfortunate duty to bring this to a close. This could have been a 2-hour discussion, I sense, to really dig into the details of the plans in Semarang, the implementation ongoing, and what has enabled that in Cape Town, and really the tools and approaches that partners bring and that Peter from Wood was sharing with us. So we will post this online, and as I mentioned earlier, you can follow up with other questions, and if you'd like to connect to any of the panelists, please do drop us an email. And I would also mention that we will be back in 2 weeks with our next Cities on the Frontline, our 4th session of 2021, and we'll be looking at circularity and how to increase urban resilience and create employment in the circular economy. We'll be hearing from Kicho and other speakers that we will reveal soon. But until then, I wish everyone a very safe and pleasant evening or afternoon or day ahead. Thanks, and good night from Singapore.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
And bye all.
Bye-bye.